Hey there everyone, welcome back to Utility Sports. Really excited for today's video. We're going to go through my 2024-2025 NBA award show where I hand out awards like MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and all the sorts. I hope you guys do enjoy this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I also want you to right now go down in the comment section below and comment your picks for the awards this year. Who do you think is the most valuable player? Who is your Rookie of the Year in a highly debated race? I want to hear your Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved Player. That's a heavily discussed topic this year as well. I want to hear who you guys have winning each award, so make sure to go comment that down below. Right now I'm going to be leaving those little hearts on all of those comments. And let's jump into it here now with my Clutch Player of the Year. I'm giving my finalists, so the top three for every single award, and ultimately my winner. In third for Clutch Player of the Year, I have Steph Curry. The efficiency's been there. The Warriors have been extremely good, especially post NBA trade deadline, where they have really climbed the standings, and Curry has been once again another big time contributor in the clutch for Golden State. Obviously has a little bit of experience with this award, the Clutch Player of the Year award, and his efficiency this year has been really strong again in clutch time. If you go on NBA.com, you can look at the numbers for these guys. It's pretty cut and dry, some of the top players, top candidates. Another one here is MVP candidate Nikola Jokic for the Denver Nuggets. Has played in a pretty large number of clutch games this year and has of course been efficient, effective, productive. You think about how much the Denver Nuggets offense runs through Nikola Jokic. With just a couple games left in the NBA season, I felt very comfortable putting this together at this point. I feel like the award picks have really crystallized for me. 1 or 2 games here at the end of the season is not really going to change the outlook, in my opinion, at this point in time. So I feel very good about Curry and Jokic finishing third and second respectively in the Clutch Player of the Year voting. So now the question is, who wins the award? Drum roll please. That is Jalen Brunson, who has been absolutely spectacular for the New York Knicks this year. Their team record is extremely strong in the clutch, especially in games that Jalen Brunson plays. He is the captain of the New York Knicks, and for good reason. When the games get tight, when they get into crunch time, the ball usually finds Jalen Brunson's hands, and after that, usually it finds the net as well, because he does a good job putting the ball in the hoop when the buckets matter the most. Jalen Brunson has been absolutely spectacular this year when he's been on the floor for the New York Knicks, and definitely should be in the running for Clutch Player of the Year, and a really strong, probable front runner at this point for the award, just given the volume of crunch time points he scored and also the efficiency that he's doing it at while leading the Knicks to wins in those moments as well. Again, the team record in those moments is really a big contributor for me here as to why he wins the award over both Curry and Jokic, because the Knicks have just been a better crunch time team with Jalen Brunson on the floor compared to his counterparts here. This is one of my favorite awards because there's so much variance year to year, but I do think Jalen Brunson, former Dallas Maverick, now current New York Knick, deserves to win this award this season given his production and performance in crunch time. Moving on to Coach of the Year. Again, don't forget to comment your picks down below as well, who you would have winning these awards. For me, Coach of the Year I thought was a real 3-man race this year, with 2 coaches who really, I think, exceeded expectations for younger teams, and then also one coach who was a new hire that completely transformed the way that everyone's talking about this other contending team. In third place here, I have JB Bickerstaff. And Detroit Pistons fans, you might be like, oh, well, why didn't he win? First of all, I just want to give some praise to JB Bickerstaff. He has done a tremendous job with the Detroit Pistons. From what was an absolute tire fire organization a year ago under Monty Williams, a team that was so poorly ran, so poorly built from a coaching perspective in terms of the lineups. I think about all bench lineups, playing Killian Hayes over Jaden Ivey, some of these just absolute brain dead decisions that Monty Williams was making, that I was not a fan of at all, and I called him out on it multiple times last year when it was all kind of unfolding in front of our own very eyes. They hired an actual competent coach, and they went from one of the worst teams ever, especially when you think about the losing streak that they had last year, to a very, very good team, and in fact, a playoff team. And of course, Kate Cunningham is a huge reason why behind that, you also look at some of the decisions Trajan Langdon made in terms of bringing in shooting. Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr. have both been positive contributors this year for Detroit in their roles and minutes. I think we've seen some real growth from a lot of the young core here for the Detroit Pistons, and I think JB Bickerstaff, his lineups, his overall scheme, coaching philosophy, has really put the Pistons in a spot to have this transformational turnaround that has only been paralleled by teams like the Boston Celtics in the past when they added Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. You think about teams that have made massive roster overhauls in order to kind of produce or manufacture these win totals. The Pistons didn't do it that way. They changed their coach, and I think this is a really good testament to how important coaching is. Another great testament to the importance of coaching is Ime Udoka for the Houston Rockets, who I have taking second in this award this year. The Rockets have locked up the 2 seed in the Western Conference. I don't think anyone was really expecting that from them coming into the year, and I was one of the more optimistic Houston Rockets believers over the last couple of years. Going into the 2023-24 season, I was very, very high on them being a near fringe play-in team, something that a lot of people weren't seeing after they signed Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks. There was a lot of criticism, skepticism around those moves. I actually quite liked those decisions. But then they kind of hit the accelerator a little bit further, and a big reason for that is Ime Udoka's coaching, where this team has been built and predicated on defense, but they've also found ways to manufacture and build a pretty competent offense, even with maybe some suboptimal 1A caliber players, where Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün, I'm very high on their talent levels individually both, but let's be honest about it, they're not, a Luka Doncic caliber player. They're not a 1A true superstar kind of player yet. Now, Alperen Şengün, maybe he could get there. Obviously, I like a lot about his game in terms of the combination of touch, feel, vision, and all of those things that make him such an awesome player. Jalen Green has been extremely durable, deserves a lot of love as well for the things he's been able to do this year for stretches of time. But Ime Udoka specifically at the very top, it's just night and day difference from what the Rockets fans had to endure with Steven Silas a few years ago. Ime Udoka knows how to coach, he knows how to win games, and that's what the Houston Rockets have been doing ever since hiring Ime Udoka, because he's a great coach. They have the talent to accentuate his defensive schematics, and they've done a really good job with ball contained, ball pressure. And one question I had when Udoka took the job was, how is the Şengün pairing going to work? Because Şengün is not your natural rim protector. And you think about Udoka's success in Boston with Robert Williams, who is an awesome, elite, big-time shot blocker. They've actually found really great success defensively, despite some of Şengün's physical limitations. I think from an on-ball positioning, off-ball positioning, IQ standpoint, Şengün's actually fit in very, very well there in Houston. I think, again, that's a testament to Ime Udoka, his coaching strategy, and the ability to make some of these pieces work. And when you give him a plethora of great on-ball defenders, you're going to have a very fun product, and that's what the Rockets have been all year long. But my coach of the year, I think it's very plain, simple, obvious. It is Kenny Atkinson of the Cleveland Cavaliers. They have just been brilliant this season. Their pick and roll offense has been unbelievable. It's like, early in the year, like about 3-4 games in, obviously, I scour NBA.com. I'm looking at all the numbers as often as I can to really best wrap my mind around what's going on around the league for either games that I missed or, kind of checking like, hey, am I seeing this right? And early in the year, the Cavaliers' pick and roll numbers were unbelievable. And I was like, okay, this is either going to be the smallest sample size where things are completely not true at all, or this is something to monitor throughout the course of the season with Ty Jerome, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, all posting unbelievable pick and roll numbers as ball handlers. And you had Mobley and Allen being so successful as rollers in that kind of system. And that carried throughout the season. And that is, again, a testament to Kenny Atkinson finding a way to utilize the double bigs together. You think about the volume of short rolls for Cleveland, and obviously the pure talent level is there as well. But finding a way to make it all mesh, fit together, and work, something JB Bickerstaff wasn't able to really quite do or harness fully in Cleveland. Kenny Atkinson's been the right man for the job. He deserves the Coach of the Year award. The Cavaliers have been just absolutely awesome all season long. And I think given how great they've been and how honestly surprising it is specifically for me, I was not expecting them to be this dominant of a team, especially with what we've seen the last couple of seasons. So for me, Kenny Atkinson feels like the no-brainer Coach of the Year pick this year. Most improved player, and this is another hot button topic. People want to know, will Cade Cunningham make an appearance on this list? For me, while I do think Cade Cunningham has advanced and enhanced his game this year, I don't think he is one of the 3 most improved players in the world. And Pistons fans, I don't want you to be upset about that. I want you to hear me and understand. It's because I think Cade Cunningham was really good last year. I had the opportunity to watch him play live multiple times last year under Monty Williams. Monty Williams was holding him back, and that team roster was holding him back. It's okay to say that Cade isn't one of the most improved players in the world this year. He's an awesome player. He's an all-star caliber player, but he's not one of the most improved because he was already such a great player last year, whereas other guys in the league have taken their steps forward in a meaningful fashion to new levels. And, yes, Cade has had some statistical production increase this year. It's not to the level of these guys. Now, some of that has to do with role changes for some of these players as well. But I do think Cade, just not a top 3 most improved player candidate. I don't have an actual problem with giving it to a guy who's a 1st or 2nd overall pick if the improvement's actually there. I just don't think Cade had that far to go from being the caliber of player he is now. I think he was knocking on the door last year anyway. So keep that in mind here. 3rd, I have Austin Reeves, who has a 5-point per game increase and has become one of the core pieces for the Los Angeles Lakers. Obviously, there was kind of rumblings, expectations last year or the year before that he could break into this kind of role as a 15, 20 point per game guy. Last year he averaged 15. This year he's up to 20 points per game. He's doing it rather efficiently and has had some real killer nights this year as well, whether it's nights where Luka and LeBron are both out or nights where both of them are present. I think Austin Reeves has really mastered kind of shifting and manipulating his game to whatever the Lakers need in that moment. Can he play off the ball as a cutter, connector piece? Yes. Can he be a high-volume pick-and-roll ball handler? Yes. And I think that kind of congruence into the Lakers lineup has been extremely valuable and extremely beneficial in terms of fitting Luka Doncic into their team equation. And then also I think Reeves, just in terms of his two-way play, I think he's an underrated defender, holds his weight pretty well on that end of the floor. And then offensively, again, you're just looking at someone who's been an uber efficient shooter for them this season, someone who's been really effective both on and off the basketball. And I think for that reason, we've seen a real uptick in his production, and I think his overall game has just really matured and improved a pretty drastic amount this year, a little bit more so than some of the other players who aren't going to be on this list. Second, I have Norm Powell, a real late career breakout from him, and a real dominant season, especially the beginning of the year. He started out on such a hot streak. And honestly, if you look at his clutch numbers as well, he would have been in the running for Crunch Time Player of the Year as well. Now, I don't think he'll actually finish as a finalist in that award, but this is what people think the Most Improved Player award should be for, is these older veteran players. I don't necessarily just agree with that, but Norm Powell really does embody what this award means in a lot of ways. Now, I do think, in terms of did his game actually progress? Yes, a little bit. I also think that, losing Paul George and opening up 15 shots per night basically has a kind of big contribution into why he's a Most Improved Player candidate. If Paul George was still a Clipper, this opportunity probably wouldn't have been here for him to really showcase his talent and skill as a scorer, playing off of James Harden and out of Ivica Zubac's pick and roll short game that they always like to play through there in LA. But obviously, I think Norm Powell very deserving of this consideration. My actual Most Improved Player of the Year, though, is Dyson Daniels. Before the year, I had questions for the Hawks about which player in the backcourt could really fit next to Trae Young and be a breakout candidate for them this year. And I think Dyson Daniels very resoundingly answered that question. I would love the three-point volume and the three-point percentage to continue increasing and improving going forward. I'm not sure that's ever really going to happen, but I do think his overall comfortability with the ball in his hands, I feel like the game just slowed down for him a lot this year, both as a rim finisher, a play finisher around the rack, and then obviously there's been so much coverage about his defense, which I do think is a tad bit overrated. But he's been an awesome elite defensive event creator for Atlanta this year, getting his hands on the basketball frequently, more often than anybody else in the league this year. And I just think from a two-way improvement standpoint, his overall defensive impact, which has been very strong for Atlanta as their key point of attack defender, and then also his pretty meaningful offensive progression and production this year. I just think everything checks the box here for Most Improved Player, which is why I do think Dyson Daniels is the Most Improved Player for the 2024-2025 NBA season. Sixth Man of the Year, another really fun award to talk about. I think there's a very clear, concise three-man race for this award as well. The first one we've already talked about in this video, Ty Jerome for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I do have him finishing third. I just don't think the overall production is there to justify him finishing second or first in the award voting for this award this year, although the efficiency stats are there. And as he very infamously told Paulo Banchero, there's a number of teams in the league he'd start on, including the Orlando Magic. He is a starting caliber guard. And I think you look at his production, his success this year as a pick and roll ball handler, his success as an off-ball player, a catch and shoot guy, all of the numbers suggest that this guy should be a starter somewhere in the league. Whatever team that ends up being, we'll see. It's definitely not going to be Cleveland because he's behind Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. He's never going to supersede either of those two players for that starting spot in the backcourt, but he definitely is in the running for Sixth Man of the Year, very deservingly so. He's a really great, awesome guard who contributes to winning, always has, did so in college a ton for the Virginia Cavaliers, and I'm really happy to see him contributing in such a big way for the Cleveland Cavaliers now in the NBA. Second for this award, I have Malik Beasley of the Detroit Pistons, one of the best glue guys, culture fits in the entire league this year. Malik Beasley has embraced being a Detroit Piston in a huge way. Obviously, he stirs up some fan bases quite a bit. I'm not sure Wolves fans are super in love with him right now at this point in time. But as we know, I don't think Malik Beasley loves Tim Connolly and the Timberwolves too much after Connolly traded him away for a second time a few years ago. So Malik Beasley, though, this is a very good testament to the importance and value of fit. Malik Beasley was kind of bouncing around the league a little bit, spent some time in Utah, a little bit of time in LA with the Lakers, spent a season with Milwaukee on the Bucks before Doc Rivers came in and kind of lost his job there in that kind of shuffle. Obviously before that was with Denver and Minnesota. I feel like he really has found a home in Detroit, and the fit is just brilliant playing off of Cade Cunningham. For years and years I've emphasized how the Pistons need to put shooting around Cade Cunningham, specifically to open the game up for him and make the game just quite a bit easier. Malik Beasley has done that. He's been one of the most effective, efficient three-point shooters this season in terms of high-volume players. The three-point barrage from Malik Beasley, all things considered, given his minutes played and given his role in the team, has just been utterly awesome for the Pistons this year, and he's definitely in the running for Sixth Man of the Year. Although the winner of the award to me is Peyton Pritchard of the Boston Celtics. I think out of the three players on this graphic, he is just flat out the best player among these three. He's been extremely productive and efficient this year. His field goal percentage is about 4 points higher than Malik Beasley. Now, obviously, you look at the three-point volume for Beasley, you understand why the field goal percentage is a little bit lower. But when it comes to Peyton Pritchard, the combination of shooting talent, on-ball skills, pick and roll play, fitting in the team context as well. There's just so many winning attributes that Peyton Pritchard has brought to Boston, and I think within his kind of role on the team, he's pretty much lived up to every expectation he could. He's one of the best value contracts in the entire league right now. The extension the Celtics signed him to was utterly genius by Brad Stevens once again. So, for me, Peyton Pritchard, Sixth Man of the Year. I think the numbers back that up quite well. Then you also look at the impact on winning, the eye test, everything here kind of just suggests he should be the Sixth Man of the Year. I think was the most productive, best bench player in the league this season. Most Valuable Player, award that gets way too much attention. This gets talked about way too much in the NBA right now. There's so much division, so much hate because of the MVP award, and it's all done in bad taste, in my opinion. Everyone's biased to the point where fans will be trashing their own team. How many years in a row have we heard Nuggets fans say that Nikola Jokic lifts a terrible team? Well, Nuggets fans sit there and continue to say, well, Jamal Murray's great, Aaron Gordon's great, Michael Porter Jr. is great, but when it comes to the MVP debate, they trash their own players to hoist up Nikola Jokic. And it's not just them. It's pretty much every single fan base in the league that does this. I'm just making an example out of Nuggets fans because it has been the most recent example time after time after time. Anyway, third in the MVP voting here, I do have Giannis Antetokounmpo. I do think there has been a little bit of slippage in his overall impact this year, but the numbers still suggest he has been a top three-ish player in the world. Obviously, some guys like Luka Doncic, for example, do not qualify this season because of the games played requirement, which is why Giannis here, averaging over 30 points, over 10 rebounds, over 6 assists per game, shooting about 60% from the floor. He just makes sense as an MVP candidate. He's one of three players averaging 30-plus points. He's been extremely efficient once again as an overall player. I think this year has really expanded his game as a mid-range scorer. Now, I think the two-way play is a little diminished from where we've seen it in years past, but that's not really a detriment. Giannis has been one of the better defenders in the last 10 years or so. So, it's not like a real slight at Giannis. It's just when you're splitting hairs and you're picking between 3 MVP candidates, I put Giannis third pretty comfortably on this list. Second, now this is where things get spicy. People are going to be mad at me in the comment section one way or another. Second, I have Nikola Jokic, and which means ultimately in first, I do have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. To walk you through this decision, first of all, Shai has been averaging nearly a point a minute like the last couple months of the season. He has been utterly, insanely efficient. His true shooting percentage is incredulous. And I have a real problem with MVP narratives. Remember last year, it was all about advanced analytics and how points, rebounds, assists don't mean everything because, and team record's so important. That's why Jokic won it over Luka Doncic last year, because everyone said, well, you can't vote for Luka when his team's 8-9 games out of first place in the Western Conference. But then this year, Nuggets fans are saying, well, look at Jokic. He's got the most points, rebounds, assists. And who cares if we're not winning as many games? We don't have as good of a team as Oklahoma City. So it's crazy to me that the argument can shift so fast in 12 months. Like last year, Luka was invalidated because of the Mavericks team record, despite having to play the entire first half of the year with Grant Williams as a starting power forward, and a rookie center. It was just unbelievable to me. And then the Mavericks ended up making the finals. It's just such a stupid discussion, which is why I hate the MVP discussion, honestly. Yeah, Shai deserves the MVP. He's scored a ton of points this year. He's done it super efficiently. He's a better two-way player than Nikola Jokic. That's not even up for discussion at all. The Nuggets have actually been quite bad defensively, especially post-NBA trade deadline, post-All-Star break. And Jokic is at the center of it. Literally, he's their center. And he doesn't protect the rim, and the effort's not always there night in, night out. We already know that. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, listen, I think a little overrated on the defensive end of the floor, but still a way better defensive player than Nikola Jokic. The offensive impact is very, very similar. And the Thunder have been pretty much the best team in the league this year. Very, very, unarguably. They've been just unbelievably good. So for me, I think Shai as the MVP is just a super easy pick. Defensive Player of the Year, another hot button topic. Obviously, many people months ago, including myself, thought this was a foregone conclusion that Victor Wembanyama would win this award. Unfortunately, because of blood clots, he is not going to be eligible due to the games played requirement. So my third place candidate here is Lu Dort. I think the best perimeter defender in the world. I think when it comes to actually getting stops and stopping offensive players, I think Lu Dort, who is allowed to play with a little bit more physicality than anybody else, does it better at this point in time than anyone else. Now, an honorable mention who did not make this list would be Amen Thompson. I think Amen Thompson is going to be one of these Defensive Player of the Year candidates for years to come for Houston. This year, I do not have him on my actual top 3 ballot, my list right now, but I do think going forward, Amen Thompson will be a guy to monitor as a potential Defensive Player of the Year candidate, as kind of a guard, wing, forward, guard everybody type of player. He just brings so much versatility. I think Lu Dort, though, you look at how great OKC's been defensively. They obviously have a ton of pieces that contribute to that, but Lu Dort is the guy who actually gets the top assignment night in, night out, and he does a better job than most when it comes to limiting the other team's 1A option. My second place finisher is Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Obviously, Cleveland's been so great this year. Mobley is a cheat code kind of big man with his ability to switch out on the perimeter, protect the paint. Teams don't really challenge him too much at the rim. And obviously, I think a big part of his success as well is playing in a 2-big configuration where when he is on the perimeter, he has another big man behind him. We saw how effective that's been for other teams in the past. You think about Rudy Gobert kind of hiding some of Karl Anthony Towns' flaws. Well, Cleveland's kind of an upgraded version of that because they have 2 very good defensive big men. Jarrett Allen, I think one of the more underrated defenders in the league. Evan Mobley, one of the more switchy, scheme versatile bigs in the league as well. They just have a very, very good roster construction from the front court perspective. Now, obviously, their guards are quite thin and frail and are not the best defensive players in the league by any stretch of the imagination. So it's kind of by necessity that they have 2 great defensive front court players in Mobley and Allen. But Mobley definitely does deserve some of that credit for how successful they've been on both ends of the floor this season, kind of contributing to their team's overall record. But no surprises here. My Defensive Player of the Year is Draymond Green. We've seen some really crazy odds change over the last couple months or so. And a lot of that has to do with the winning the Warriors have been doing. After getting Jimmy Butler, this team has just been winning a ton of games. Obviously did lose yesterday to the San Antonio Spurs in pretty dramatic fashion, but Draymond Green all season long has been brilliant defensively once again. He is one of the most unbelievably impactful defenders in NBA history. And it might sound like hyperbole. It might sound like, oh my gosh. I really do think Draymond Green is the litmus test for people who understand basketball. Like, if you understand what's happening on the floor, on either end of the floor, you'll understand that Draymond Green is an invaluable tool to the Golden State Warriors and someone who opens up so many avenues for their success, whether it be offensively with his playmaking, whether that be through post splits or DHOs or this, that, or the other thing. There's so much he brings as a screener, a diver, a cutter, a facilitator. Obviously is where a lot of that attention is best utilized. I think all of those things are extremely valuable offensively, and then defensively, he's the ultimate gap filler when it comes to IQ, positioning, and effort. He does all of it. He moves his feet extremely well. He can guard literally on the perimeter. This is one of the few players in NBA history who's actually had real success guarding 1 through 5. Now, I'm not saying he's like locking down 1 through 5, right? You can look at it literally where I'm saying like, hey, he's going to lock down point guards and centers. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he is scheme versatile in terms of switching, hedging, recovering, rotating, closing out onto shooters, like doing all of the little things, right, that contribute to your team defense being able to successfully guard anybody at any given moment. And Draymond Green is the biggest proponent to that in Golden State, which is why I think he should be the Defensive Player of the Year this season. Rookie of the Year, the most anticipated award, I'm sure, for all of you watching. My third place finisher here is Alex Sarr for the Washington Wizards. I think as of late, especially the last couple months or so, we've started to see more and more and more of the promise that I talked about a lot pre-draft with Alex Sarr. And I think for Wizards fans, you might say, well, it's a bummer if he's not going to win the award or even take second in the award. Here's the thing, Wizards fans. Before the season, I wasn't even sure he would be a finalist for this award because I did think, kind of coming into the year, there would be a little bit of a ramp-up period for him kind of adjusting to the NBA and getting his feet wet and, kind of figuring out how he's going to play and how to effectively, produce on the floor. And I think we've seen that this year. Any kind of Rookie of the Year finish for him in voting is a huge, promising telltale sign of his long-term upside. And I think Wizards fans, you should be extremely happy with him even getting name dropped here, just because I think a year ago, if you told me will he for sure be a Rookie of the Year candidate, I would have said, he finished number 1 on my draft board, right? But I wasn't completely sold on him being this instant day 1 contributor. And I think we've seen some of the growing pains of that. Now, luckily, Washington's a team that wanted to lose and wanted to position themselves for this year's draft and maybe even next year's draft. There's no rush right now for the Washington Wizards, which is a good thing, but I think we've seen a lot of promise and upside from Alex Sarr. My number 2 player here, former first overall pick, Zachary Rissache from the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks getting quite a bit of love in this video. Obviously, talked about Dyson Daniels quite a bit. Now Zachary Rissache has been one of the best play finishers in the entire league, not just as a rookie. He's been an extremely effective play finisher in terms of his volume at the rim, which is pretty much completely assisted, and his assisted three-point rate. Very, very good stuff. The movement skills, the relocation tools, pretty much all the stuff I highlighted pre-draft as him being this really unique off-ball offensive player who can fit around offensive talent. And luckily for the Atlanta Hawks, and very luckily for Zachary Rissache, he's allowed to play with one of the best point guards in the league in Trae Young, someone who carries such a heavy offensive burden of offensive creation, that someone like Rissache, who maybe has a little bit of a lower ceiling long-term because of the lack of creation tools he presently has. Now, again, I'm not writing him off forever because he could go into this offseason, work extremely hard on his handle, his gathers, and everything when it comes to kind of building up that routine and rhythm and confidence as an on-ball player, that he could improve in that way. But right now, for a player who's predominantly finding success off the ball, it's really, really great for him that he landed in Atlanta with Trae Young. And I think Hawks fans are really excited about him, and they should be, because he's a really, really great fit next to Trae Young, next to Dyson Daniels, next to this kind of young core nucleus that the Hawks have now with a very, very young starting lineup. Going forward, there's going to be a lot of upside and a lot of intrigue around the Atlanta Hawks for sure. And finishing number 1 for me in Rookie of the Year is Stephon Castle, someone who was such a winning player for the Yukon Huskies a year ago when they won their second consecutive national title. And I think for San Antonio, obviously the Victor Wembanyama injury has kind of shaken things up here a little bit, where it gave more opportunity for Stephon Castle to continue expanding his game, growing his game a bit. But I think overall, what I've been really most impressed with throughout the year was his applicable athleticism and the functionality of it as a rim finisher specifically. I talked about that a lot pre-draft and how I thought his handle was one of the most under-discussed things in the entire 2024 NBA draft class. I feel like Spurs fans know what I'm talking about now because they've seen it all season long, where there's just moments and plays where you're like, dude, this guy's potential is so high, because if he puts a lot of these things together, the thing we're still waiting on is that three-point shot. If he becomes a more effective three-point shooter, he could be so good in the NBA. And, you can bet on his pull-up game. There's a lot of intrigue there, and there's a lot of promise. We've seen flashes of it for sure. I think he's been the best rookie this season. Now, it's been kind of an underwhelming rookie class, obviously. I'm still very high on this 2024 draft class as a whole long term. I think coming in, we all kind of knew this first year was going to be kind of rough, and especially when a player like Reed Shepherd, who probably would have been the favorite to win Rookie of the Year had he had a lot of minutes, had he been on a different team where he got to play more, he might have ran away with this award. We will never know that. He's on the Houston Rockets. He didn't get to play a lot. So Stephon Castle, my Rookie of the Year this year, and I think very well deserved with the kind of season he put together for the Spurs. On a team that did make some improvements in terms of the win-loss column as well. Again, don't forget to comment your award picks down below. I really hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.